Hello, sir. Good morning.
Okay, let's hold on. Sorry. Let's see how. Oh, yeah, I've got to make sure that's down. That was a little too loud. All right, here we are in the global
Hello, sir.
class.
Good morning.
Yeah, hi, who is that? Navpreet or Sanjaban? Who? Let's see. Oh, I
I'm
heard.
Sanjana Ben. Good morning.
Yeah, Sanjana Ben. Yeah, hi, Sanjana Ben. How are you today?
I'm fine. What's about you?
We're good. We're getting connected. Maureen and I are here, and we're going to start very shortly. And we just need to do our technical connections first to make sure everybody's connected. So you have
Yep,
just
it
done the
sounds
technical.
great.
That's good. We can hear you clearly, and
Yeah.
and you can hear me clearly, right?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So I'm going to leave my microphone on for now, and let's just see how things are looking over on YouTube. Good. And we're off. Good. Okay. And I put the links in there. Uh, those links we can run. That's Jamie, our guest, coming at 10:45. And so 2 minutes we're going to start. And I will begin to close the doors. Our audio is working. Oh, you want to come through? Yeah. Uh, and we have everything connected. Everything looks good the way it should. We're about to take off, but we're still on the tarmac or the runway, whatever metaphor you want to use. And it might be that today, at least so far in this penultimate or second last week of the semester, we may not have many people in person because everybody is worried about their other work and their final exams and their final essays or assignments. So that's okay. We are so flexible here. As long as Maureen is here, that's good. Then we can actually have a global class. So let's see what else. If there's anything else I need to do, I just need a moment here to check my notes. Okay, so let's see. All right, we are ready to take off in the Rotary Global Classroom for Global Leader, our 13th class of this semester, our penultimate class, second last class. And we have a guest coming today at 10:45, a wellness coach who's going to be helping us to understand all sorts of interesting techniques that we can apply in our growing toolkit of leadership skills around how to create an environment around you of employees or others who are part of your team in which there is a kind of calmer, more inspiring, more always empathetic environment to get the most out of people that you are working with or you are leading. But more importantly, actually, I think that given the fact that we are heading now into the final days of this semester, and a lot of you have things on your mind right now related to assignments and grades, I think that it's really important for you to understand some things about how to get the most and the best out of yourself as well in a stressful time, how to reduce the stress and how to take advantage of it at the same time. And that's what Jamie Meldrum, a wellness coach, is going to be doing today when he joins us in about a half an hour. And Jamie has done classes with us before, and he's very good. I think you're going to like him a lot. Already, I put 2 links in the live chat that we will be reviewing when he's here. A couple of videos on what is called emotional intelligence. He's going to speak to this. So between now and then, in the next 30 minutes, what I'd like to do is start to get you ready for what's coming in the final week, which is your big reflection of this semester, Reflection 6, which is essentially an assignment. And I hope you've seen the assignment sheet already that's been posted on DC Connect, but I want to address that. So before we get going, and I have Maureen come up and we talk a little bit about our plans for. Well, why don't you come up now and you can join us here, and we'll start in a moment with Maureen giving us an update of this amazing project that she has brought to the global classroom and that we are now moving forwards with pretty well full speed now. I had a good meeting with our president last week, the same president who sat here and was hosting the class on artificial intelligence, and he's going to be supporting this big presentation and big presence that we plan to have at the World Expo in 2025. So let me just check and make sure everybody who is on board has been brought into the class, and then Maureen's going to give us a little bit of an update. Okay, so first, hi Navpreet, do you want to just jump on your microphone and say hello and make sure we know you're connected? Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
We're good. Just be aware, Navpreet, that if you don't see people here in person and it's just me and Maureen, it means that either they're going to be joining online like you, or they're going to be watching the recordings, and they're all watching the recordings because I see in their reflections.
Okay.
So you are talking to the whole class, even though you may not see everybody here. Okay, so
Okay.
good that you've joined us, Navpreet. And Sanjanaben, did I pronounce that correctly again? Sanjanaben?
Yes, it is Sanjana Ben.
Sanjanaben, great. Good. So you're connected. And Dami, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. I'm glad that you were able to join us. So, okay, let us get going. Remember, in 30 minutes, we have Jamie Meldrum joining us, the wellness coach, and we need to get ready for that too. But first, let's do a little review and talk about also what's coming. And so, Maureen, how's it going?
Hello, Ron. Hello, everybody. Good morning from Oshawa, Drum College. It's going good.
Yeah.
We have some updates with our vision that we want to host, at the Expo 2025. Ron's working on a proposal that's due at the end of the year. And I've done some research, and there's something called co-creation creator
Yes.
that we want to eventually work towards that and become a co-creation creator.
Yes.
So basically, it's working towards the theme of the expo, that's designing future society for our lives.
designing future society for our. So that's interesting. Just keep that in mind. We will return to that, but that's very much what we're building in the global classroom. And Dami definitely gets this because he mentioned this in his reflection, I think, about what we're doing here. And you all do, but it's great to see specifically a student talking about this. But we're trying with the global classroom to be part of that future society and even shape that future society in a positive way. Okay, so
So the expo has something called the Team Expo 2025 program, and you can participate one of two ways, and we can do both. So one of them is a co-creation challenge, and the other one's a co-creation partner. Co-creation challenge is basically working together to solve social issues. So we bring up one kind of issue, and like we have partners and other people who work with us for that. The other one is a co-creation partner, which is us as a organization, or like they're saying corporation, but more of an organization that support multiple co-creation challenges.
Great.
So it like we could put up a challenge and then also help with other such issues that we can help with. It's basically us using our skills and strengths and technology that we have here at the global class to be able to help with different challenges. So yeah, and the deadline for this is throughout the expo. So we're hoping to be a part of that through this.
Excellent.
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Great. So that's giving us a little bit more information about what the expo's theme is going to be. It's also important that you listen to what Mayreen just said, because I am about to give you a very significant option for you to do for your final assignment. Okay, so just hold on for a moment, and I just want to make sure that we've got everything in place. And actually, yeah, unless there's anything else you want to update us on, please go over to the smart board, get ready, and start making some notes as we go along. Okay.
I did want to add something about the COP28 that's going on in the UAE right now.
Yes, go ahead.
It started on the 30th of November and is going to go on until the 12th of December. So it's basically a United Nations climate change conference. That's what the COP28 is. Today's topic, because they're having one day dedicated for different like topics. Today is Urbanization and Transport Day, December the 6th. Yesterday was a day I think it was really significant, especially for Canada as a country and what we believe in. It's Indigenous peoples and their key role in climate action. That was yesterday's theme, and day before was Gender Day. So the role of women, and just in general, and climate change, climate action.
Yeah.
That's what the themes were. So I thought that was really significant, and I thought I should bring it up.
Well, actually, if any of our classmates today would like to see any of the activities going on there, what should they do?
There's a website that they're sharing all the news on. There's been videos, like news articles, like different things if they want to research more about it. But it is going on right now until 12th of December.
Great.
So yeah, it's almost like a little bit like 2 weeks. That's
What's
going
going on in
on.
the UAE these days, right? United Arab Emirates, for everybody. Remember, they had the expo last time, and Mayreen and her sister were there, and now they have the big annual climate change conference going on.
What's also significant is that they're having this conference at the expo site.
Of course, I saw that.
So that's why it's kind of special. Yes, yeah.
Maureen,
Yeah.
for sure. So I hope you got that. And actually, why don't you make sure you put some of that on? You can take the microphone with you in case we need. And we'll just go over there, and you'll see Mayreen's heading over to the board. It was Dami's board, but now Dami is back online today, so it's Mayreen's board. Okay, and so I want to just make sure that everybody is clear about that, and I'm going to start bringing back things to the board right now. So just give me a moment, and I'm going to start getting our notes up. First, I want the notes, Mayreen's notes behind me. Then I want the map of the world over here. And then I would like to see over here the video conference and the YouTube live stream and everything. So, okay, before we move on, in essentially 20 minutes, our guest is going to be here. Is there anything that our live classmates would like to say or add at this point? Dami, Sanjanaben, Navpreet, feel free to jump on your microphones if there's something you'd like to say. If not, I'll move on. So anything you'd like to say at this point? Okay, so everybody, please. Ooh. Is my microphone, can you hear me clearly, Dami? I had a note here that it wasn't working. For a
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, I can
Good.
hear you.
Okay. Yeah, good. Okay. Please listen closely while Maureen puts things up on the board right now about what she just told us around Expo and particularly around the climate change conference going on right now in, is it in Dubai or Addis Ababa? Yeah, it's in Dubai on the Expo site in UAE, United Arab Emirates. In the Arabian Peninsula, if you want to orient yourself to the map of the world, you will see right there the Saudi Arabian Peninsula and the Persian Gulf, which is also called the Arabian Gulf, is just to the east, and the UAE is right there on the Gulf. And it's one of several countries that goes around the perimeter of the Arabian Peninsula. And it's an important country in terms of its growing influence in the world. And it's something you may want to just keep in the back of your mind. So I want you to listen up right now because I'm about to make a very important announcement to all of you. Okay? You know that your final reflection is due on Friday, December the 15th, which is in about 9 days or so. The assignment sheet and the instructions have been posted for some days now on DC Connect. If you have not been able to find it, please let me know. But before you tell me that and you shoot me an email, I'm going to tell you something that I'd like you to keep in mind. That is for all the students watching the recording, all the students online right now. Sometimes I wonder when you write me an email at the last minute and say that you couldn't find something, that you're using technology as an excuse. In other words, you're kind of giving me a little lie. I sometimes suspect this with students, but I don't say anything. I don't want to, get in students' faces unless I get some real attitude from them. But before you email me late and say your computer was not working, you couldn't find the assignment sheet, you're having trouble with DC Connect, please just do a quick mental check and ask yourselves, am I pulling Lon's chain a little bit here? Meaning, am I trying to use technology as an excuse for the fact that I didn't actually go and look for the assignment sheet in the proper place? In other words, you're using a breakdown in tech to win yourself some time. And that's not a very professional thing to do. And if you do that on the job with a boss and you do that repeatedly, you probably will be fired. So I'm not saying you're doing that, okay? I just sometimes suspect it because I get so many emails. I have over 200 students, from students often saying things like, my tech isn't working, that's not working, and I'm starting to suspect that actually their tech is working. Everything is working, but they're hoping that I will accept their excuse. So if you have not seen the assignment sheet yet for the final assignment or final reflection, it's there for you on DC Connect, and it hasn't been. So I'm expecting you will find it. But if you can't, for some reason, and it's a real reason, email me later. But I'm going to say something now about this final assignment that's really important. Something that is not on the sheet and has not been announced. And I'm announcing it to you right now. I will give you an option for 30%. This is your biggest reflection of the semester. 30% of your final grade is on the line for this. And you will see in the assignment sheet, there's a marking scheme out of 50 now. So this is a serious piece of work you're going to be doing. I will give you the option of reflecting on what you think Mayreen and I should be telling the world in 2025 about the new classroom for humanity that we are building here. In other words, this new classroom for humanity that I have had the privilege to build with all of you over the years here, and then is gaining momentum now. And I believe when we present it to the world, to 200 countries or so, with pavilions coming all over the world, the Olympics in a way of science and technology and engineering, we are going to win the gold medal there. Because we're going to show the rest of the world that out of this campus, with the people here, we have built the first live, multimedia, accessible classroom for all people on Earth for the future. In other words, we are moving education forwards now in the post-pandemic world using technology in the best way we can to make people smarter and to also make the classroom an experience that is engaging and exciting, to get education out of the clinical, institutional environment that it's been in for so long and put it into the modern world. This is the vision. Now, you may have your own ideas. You may actually care about education, or you may not. That's okay. I'm a lot older than you are, and Mayreen has also thought a lot more about this too. So it may be that you don't care about this. Fair enough. There are so many choices on the assignment sheet you can do your final reflection on, including your own idea as well. And you can do it as a video, you can do it as a presentation, you can write it. You have lots of options. But if you would like, and if you care about education, and you understand that the only way you or anybody is going to move forward in this world is to get smarter. And the only way that we're going to be able to solve problems together, humanity, all of these messy, entangled, cruel situations we find ourselves in today, we all must talk. We all must learn. Education has never been more important today than it is. If you care about these things, then you have a chance in your final assignment, your final reflection, to take 1,400 to 1,500 words and tell us, what do you think the classroom should be? What do you think education should be doing? And Mayreen and I are going to look at these, and we're going to think about your ideas. And you're going to be graded on this. Because in the reflection that you do, you will have to be referring to all the classes that we have been holding this semester and our guests. And all of what we have been exploring this semester will be part of the references that you will be using to tell us what your ideas are, as if it were your own project. Because remember what the first paragraph is of the assignment sheet. Let me read it to you again so you understand. Come on in, Jamie. Here comes our guest, and he's going to join us in 50 minutes. Please grab a seat. Here is the final paragraph. Sorry, the first paragraph in the assignment sheet. Imagine an initiative you are leading, one that has local and global significance. What would the initiative be? Its purpose, its plan of action? Would you have a team? What would their roles be? How would the insights you have gained this semester influence your decisions? Remember, I told you that you would have a chance in your final reflection of this semester to tell us what your project is going to be that you're going to lead. Well, imagine that you were joining me and Mayreen in Osaka, in Japan, in 2025. What do you think we should be doing if you are part of that leadership team? This is an option. I say this again, it's not an order. It's not an expectation. It's an option for you if you care. But you will be graded and it will be worth 30%. So there may be 1 or 2 students listening right now of the 41 who are registered in this course this semester who are going to hear this and go, yup, I do believe that if I want to lead effectively in the future, and if I want to explore a project that brings together so much of what we have explored this semester in the Global Leader class, and finally with Jamie today, in terms of these ideas of emotional intelligence and wellness and how to develop the right character for this very complex, volatile, messed up world. You may come to the same conclusion that I have, and I think Maureen has, and a lot of my colleagues have, that if we don't get smarter now, if we don't become more educated, our world will go backwards, not forwards. So that's a very big thing I'm asking. And I just want to check in with Navpreet and Sanjanaben and make sure that you understood what I've just said, but you don't have to say that you want to actually choose this as your idea. But Navpreet, did that make sense, what I just said?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions?
No, I
Okay,
understood. Yeah.
excellent.
No, it's all good.
And all good for you too, Sanjana? Okay, good. The attendance today is really not great, but it's okay because it's the final 2 weeks of the semester. So I know it usually happens like this, but we have all the students watching the recording too. So we'll be talking most of them. But Sanjana Ben and Navpreet are with us. And okay, so that is the option. And I will put something up on DC Connect for you about that. I think that we can probably get Jamie up here and start with everything. Are you okay? Yeah, and let me just make sure we've covered everything. Sanjanaben and Navpreet don't have any questions. Let me see if there's anything happening over on YouTube. If anyone's jumped in there. Otherwise, we're going to keep moving on. Nothing in the YouTube live chat. That's fine, but it certainly looks good. So the recording will look good. We'll come back to Toria. Well, then let's give Jamie a microphone. And do you want a seat? Do you want to stand? And how do you? What are you most comfortable?
Oh, I'll stand for
Yeah,
now.
stand. Okay, so here's your, and that's, you're basically talking to them, to me, and to Maureen over here. Okay, and then I'll just show you what happens sometimes is that we'll come over to, oops, where camera control? Disconnected. Okay, so hold on. So that's what they see. Okay, so sometimes I'll bring the camera over there. I just have to, and then I'll come back here like that. Okay, and of course the notes that Maureen makes and anything you want to give to her, that then will be put into a PDF that is made available. So yeah, you kind of know that. Yeah, you think so? Okay, but I'll explain if there's anything. And I've got your videos ready to show. I put them in the chat for them to watch at whenever. That's the system. So, okay, everybody. Juanita, come on in. So Juanita's going to join us. Grab a seat. I'd like to introduce you to our guest today, who has thankfully made some time for us in his busy schedule around campus. And it is none other than Jamie Meldrum, our wellness coach at Durham College. And I will just say, by way of introducing him and helping you understand why I would invite him, particularly as our final guest of the semester in Global Leader, is because it's an observation I would like to make about what I see around us today in our world, online and everywhere. There's a lot of, nervous, confused, stressful people, including myself sometimes. So I'm not excluding myself. I could tell you a story about what it was like coming up today on the subway and the bus from Toronto, at 6 or 7 in the morning, and dealing with homeless people on the subway and trying to help them, and dealing with people with mental health issues in the city that I deal with all the time. I tend to like to get right in there and see what I can do. But then there's all the stuff you guys see online. Wars, climate change, everything. And so if we don't figure out how to get calmer, we're going to some dark places. And Jamie is here to give us some skills around this. And so leadership ultimately is, I'm afraid, how you solve difficult problems, really difficult problems. Leadership is not about success. It's often about difficulties and trouble. And if you can't get calm and you can't manage conflict, you can't deal with your own conflict in yourself, you're not going to go too far in this world, I'm afraid. So that's why I thought Jamie should be here. And anyways, Jamie, thank you for coming. And if you can stay with us until, for another 60 minutes or so to the end, we'd be grateful. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, thanks so much, Lon. It's great to be back in the global classroom again. And as I joined the class and caught the tail end of you reviewing the assignment that's due and just listening to your words, I think they really resonate they resonated for me, but I think they resonate for a lot of people, just in the sense of, the sort of almost the chaos that we see going on in the world right now. And how do we, as individuals, as leaders, cope with that, not just in our personal lives, but when we see so much of it going on in the world around us. And I forget the exact word you used there, Lon, but essentially, a big part of us.
Chaos is great. Yeah.
Yeah. And a big part of arguably what we as almost a species, as human beings, need to do is to almost to get smart. And that means, we can be smart in so many different ways. And when we talk about emotional intelligence, to some people, that's kind of like a foreign idea. Some people are very familiar with what that is and what it means. And if you are a leader, if you've taken leadership training, emotional intelligence is a big piece of that. But as Lon was saying and alluding to, if we don't learn how to get calm, if we don't have that self-awareness to know what's coming up for us, why those things are coming up for us, and then how we are responding to our emotions and thoughts. Basically, if we don't have awareness of what our behaviors are in certain situations, it'll be really difficult to manage ourselves. It's going to be difficult to manage a team. So I come to you today to talk about leadership. Leadership in the face of conflict. And we can have conflict in small groups. And again, you turn on the news for about 10 minutes and you see, conflict all over the world. And whether it's, so personal and next door, or maybe in a group that we're involved in, or something we're seeing on TV, that can resonate to various levels with us, and how we respond to those things it can be so important. And some of the things that I'm going to share today about emotional intelligence will speak to the more individual aspects and benefits of of developing emotional intelligence. And I have two videos that I'd like to share. One, a short one, will kind of describe what it is and why it's a helpful thing. It's by Daniel Goleman. He is, in some ways, seen as sort of the founder of emotional intelligence, or at least bringing it to the forefront of sort of
the big think one. Or that's the one? Or
yes, yeah, that would be the first one. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
So it's just so for the ones online right now, it would be, I just want to double check the link. It would be the first link in the live chat. Okay, so Sanjana Ben Napri, but just wait until Jamie says to start. Okay, and then we'll start it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I know we don't have a massive class today, but I did come with some discussion questions, because I find discussion really leverages everybody's intelligence and everybody's thoughts and life experiences. It's one thing to come up as a presenter and someone who came prepared and has a little bit of knowledge and information and done some research on topics and tries to practice these things. But I think that almost no matter what we're talking about, what topic, especially I think in the things Lon talks about here as in the global leader class. Everybody's input is valuable and important. So actually, Lon, if you could cue, no, not this one, but if you wouldn't mind going to the slide 2 of the Canva.
Okay. Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because I would like to invite people online, and I'm sorry if I forgot your name, but just whoever is in attendance to, first, I have a question, and then I would like you to reflect on that and then just share some answers. There's no right or wrong answers, but essentially what we're going to do, what I'm going to ask you to do is think of a leader, a role model, someone that you might look up to, and ask yourself, and let me take a moment to reflect on this. What qualities do they possess? What, as Lon said earlier, they're speaking to their character. What are their character traits?
Here we go. Jamie, there's your slide. So is the second one?
Second one, too. Yes.
Is it that one?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
So excellent. So we got the slides going now.
Yes. And so what I'm going to ask people to do is after they've thought of, again, a leader, a role model, someone that they look up to, just start sharing, what it is about them that you notice in their leadership role or in their mentorship role. Again, there's no right or wrong answers. And what we're going to do, I think, is we're going to, Lon, if you wouldn't mind assisting here, just inputting those things into the 3 columns. So those are actually if you go back. So under intelligence and IQ, that's a text box. And then I think you should be able to add to it. Oh, you can't add to it. Okay.
Well, we can try it another. If that, what do you want to do with intelligence IQ? You want to put in?
So essentially, when respondents share, when the class shares their responses, we would just kind of input those things in one of the 3 columns. Now, I'm not sure if that's something you can do on the board. Yeah. So let's improvise. I'm sorry. What was your name?
This one, okay? But we'll
Maureen? Yeah, I think Maureen's got it. Yeah. So Maureen, if you want to do 1 column for IQ, 1 column for technical skills, and 1 column for EQ, that is all we need. Yeah. So again, now our audience has had a moment to think about their leaders and role models, and again, what makes them a leader and what qualities do you see in them? What would you share about those leaders when you think about their qualities and their character?
You want to try, Juanita? You don't have to right now, but she often has some insightful points to make. Several times, and also in the reflection she's done too. And I think she's got a bit of a natural maybe leader in her. So, is there someone in particular? And it could be someone maybe we don't even know, but you have to then tell us who they are. But it's a role model leader, right?
Yeah.
Somebody that you look up to and you think is somebody we should be talking about.
Yeah, and again, in Lon's right, we can know this person personally, but it can just be someone who we see. No, it could be someone alive. It could be someone who's passed. Yeah, just what qualities, skill, and traits do you notice in a leader?
Okay, because there might be something coming in the live chat as well. Sometimes there are, but okay. So we're good. Navpreet and Sanjanaben are there. I know they are, but keep thinking for the 2 who are in synchronously now, Navpreet and Sanjanaben, who might be a role model leader, and it will give us a chance to really explore the important themes and forces around wellness and emotional intelligence that Jamie's going to help us with today, right? So yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Juanita.
So for the technical skills, is it like what does that mean? Like technical skills, like
that could be your ability to use Microsoft Word to put together a presentation on a mechanical engineering project you are developing, to put blueprints together. Like when you are in a certain role, your ability to do the technical day-to-day stuff. Yeah. And not that you need to look for certain things in each column, but we're going to categorize them. But just in general, what comes to mind when you think about someone who's a leader? What qualities and traits might they have? And if people aren't coming with a lot of responses, I might then instead invite someone to think of a leader, someone who's a role model, and then we can go that way. We can choose someone, and then we can say, well, what is it about them? What qualities and traits? What's their character like that kind of stands out and resonates with us?
I can't really think of anyone right now but my dad, but we don't know my dad. So
Tell us about your
so
dad.
okay, so my dad is a religious leader, I guess, because he's a pastor in the church, my church back home. So the church is pretty small. So when he started, it's hard to lead people, especially because people will be people and they have different behaviors that you have to manage. And also when it's in a religious setting, we're trying to correct certain things. So I see my dad always putting in the effort to do that. In terms of intelligence and IQ, because he's a pastor, he does put in the work. Because nowadays you see pastors that they just like they don't really put in the work. They tend to add special effects in the church. They would say certain things. They will add lights to make it look dramatic. They don't do the work they're supposed to do. My dad, I see him put in the work. He stays up in the nights to study the word. He stays up to pray as he should before the service. He doesn't joke with that. Like even if let's say like I'm crying or I have an issue or something, and I knock on his door and I'm like, oh, daddy, I need you to help me. So he's like, mm-mm. There's church tomorrow. I have to prepare. So nothing comes in between his preparation time for church the next Sunday. And, he's just very dedicated to that. And I really admire that. When it comes to doing his work, he's very diligent. He dedicates that time. He reserves that time and nothing else comes in between that. For technical skills, I would say, well, he is, he's leader of my church, but he's also leader of my home. So I guess it kind of translates into when he's managing people in church. When maybe let's say someone is supposed to, they have a session they're supposed to lead, and then they don't come to church, or maybe they don't communicate that with us. My father doesn't. He's also kind of a disciplinarian. He doesn't play with that kind of stuff. He would hold a meeting after church, and he's like, okay, next time if you have something to do, let us know. So like within maybe let's say 5 hours, 24 hours before church, before service, so we can prepare. And this is not how things go. We need to be in order. So he's very put in place. He likes things going, one after, like I don't know the word to describe it, but yeah. And he's also
Organized.
Organized. Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
I don't know.
Organized.
But just Juanita, do you want to come and so we can see you? She's been here. Why don't you come sit up here and I'll go sit there because that way people can see. The global class, we learn from each other too. So there's a lot. Anyways, keep going, okay? And then
Yeah. Then in terms of emotional intelligence, because that's the last one. He's really intelligent. Really, both like with academics, like with his school, like graduating and everything, but like in life specifically, I've had so many challenges that. Because one thing I've learned after leaving my house, like the four walls of my house, I realized that my parents were protecting me from a lot of things, and I didn't know, know until I left. And since I came here, especially because I'm in a different country, there's a lot to learn, and so quickly at that. So I find myself talking to him, and he just has so much to give, so much wisdom, so much intelligence, things I never noticed about people. I just tell him, and then he tells me everything flat out. I have no issue with it. One of the things that he says a lot, there are many, but one of the things he says a lot is, I need to learn that people, a lot of people's behaviors, they stem out of their mindsets. Now, the mindsets could be maybe it could be conditioned because of the way they grew up or their home training, and that could be different from mine. But I need to understand that it's more than just what they are showing me. It's more than just them. It's their mindsets. It's something that has already been there with them. They've grown up with. So that has also helped me in relating with a lot of people. So yeah, he's in terms of emotional intelligence, I would give him like a 10 out of 10. he's very good at that.
for your father. And James, go ahead.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I think that we can, if we want to start making our list, so to go back on some of the things you said. So one thing I remember you saying was that he's an educated man. So I think in terms of like academic education, that would probably fall under the intelligence, the left column. The technical skills. And when you first started talking about that, you mentioned a couple times that he puts in the work. What is that?
Okay, so okay, let's say like we have like, okay, let's say he has to preach or we have like a conference in church. Usually before ministering, it requires you have to pray, basically. I minister in church sometimes, but I won't lie. I don't pray as I'm supposed to. So, but when it comes to serving God, like there's a level of diligence and organization you need to maintain, and my father does that perfectly. So he dedicates, let's say, 5 to 6 hours. He could be up all night. He's praying. He wouldn't. Let's say he chooses a space in his room. He's sitting there. He's reading. He wouldn't move until he gets an answer. So I don't know the word to describe that, but
Oh, but
around.
well, we might say that he is devoted. He's persistent.
Persistent.
He's persistent.
Disciplined comes to mind.
Dogged. Dogged, but it's positive. The word dog is in there, but I would say I like to be dogged. You stay, and but devoted. So
Yeah.
devoted. Yeah.
So in my opinion, I would think that being devoted, being persistent, being organization can also, that there's a form of intelligence, because it's like not just what you organize, but how you organize things. So
Yeah.
let's put our organization under the intelligence. Then the pieces around being, I think, consistent, disciplined. Those can go, those can almost fit in between intelligence and emotional intelligence. It's knowing, because part of it is knowing when to apply things and maybe to what extent. Like, when do you stay up all night,
Exactly.
right? To
Can't do that every night.
Can't do that every night,
And
no.
that might be considered a little crazy,
Yeah.
right? If you're doing that all the time, staying
Yeah.
up all night.
Yeah.
And human beings need sleep,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And thank you for sharing. There was one other thing you mentioned. It'll come back to me. But
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of things about your father that we could put up on our list, and maybe what we'll do in a moment, and we'll check in with anybody online if they have anyone else that they would want to sort of identify, maybe talk about, and we can add to this list. But we don't. The list doesn't need to be extensive.
But also, is it possible we could give a name to your father too, just because he may emerge as a very important person in this class? Okay, so his first name,
I'm Raymond.
Raymond. Okay, so it's Juanita, and your last name is.
It's hard to pronounce. So it's
Let's get it down. Okay, so it's Raymond, Raymond.
yeah.
Because I think that given we have a smaller turnout today and a lot of stuff is going to be coming from the recordings and the reflections, we can drill down more on just one person, and we keep returning to him if you like, unless there are other examples. So if you're okay with that, yeah, James, yeah,
We can do that. Yeah.
So Raymond, Raymond, and then why don't you spell out and tell us?
AK, my surname, AKPORIAYE. Akporiaye.
And how do you pronounce that again?
Akporiaye. It has like this local tone to it. So Akporiaye.
And it's Nigerian.
It's
Nigerian. Okay, so we're talking. He is back home, or back. We can't say that. Home.
Yeah.
Now this is home.
Yeah.
Okay, so
He's in Nigeria.
Yeah, this is the complex world. Juanita is. Where's home now? Right, but we don't have to get into that. It's just
Conversation in of itself.
yeah. Okay, so Raymond, we're talking about Raymond.
Raymond. Yeah.
Apor-Ayi. Ye.
Yeah. So you could put like
Yay.
Y.
Okay.
YEH. I don't know.
Yeah. And
Just call the first name.
Yeah, Raymond.
Yeah.
Okay.
Raymond. Yeah. No, thank you
You
for.
can also do other leaders too. Like it doesn't have to be my dad. Like we could check the live chats, or you could bring up someone and we could discuss about that.
Yeah, there's so many. But yeah, just to give people online listening, is it Teams that you're using that I saw there,
We're
or
using, Toria? It's our own.
Toria?
It's our own video conferencing system. that
Okay.
we're building out of Canada. So
Sounds cool.
Toria. Yeah.
Well, anybody on Toria that wants
check
to
in the chat.
unmute and maybe talk about a leader, a role model. Yeah, again, doesn't need to be someone that you know or are related to, but anybody that you know of, that you might look up to, you feel demonstrates great leadership skills.
We also have the video too. Remember,
Mhm.
it's there on deck when you're ready. Okay. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. So, point being, and I think that
Stay-
using this as
there, okay,
a
yeah.
microcosm of
they could see.
Just general research that's done in the workplace, and specifically on emotional intelligence. And they usually, when this research is done, they'll do it in larger companies and corporations. And they'll survey and talk to the employees, the management leaders. And they'll often do this exercise. And when, especially in a workplace, what often happens is people's responses will fill up the intelligence and technical side of things and lesser things on emotional intelligence. Now, I know you said you give Raymond a 10
10 out of 10. Yeah.
but perhaps it was, maybe sometimes it's a lot easier to identify the technical skills and the more intelligence side of things that maybe we're more familiar with, and arguably what post-secondary institutions really want to focus on, prioritize, and develop. But this maybe at this point is a good segue into the video. So let's play it. Yeah, because
So for everybody online, go ahead and click on this video that you see on the big board behind us. And we're going to now run it here. And of course, for the students watching the recording later, just go to the live
Okay.
chat. And someone else has joined us? Let me just see. That might be, no? Okay. Good. Okay, so go ahead, and now I'm going to run the video here. And here we go.
शेर को थोड़ा दूर रखिए क्या चाहूँ तो आने कुछ में खुदा में कोई
I'm just stopping the video here for a second and coming back to, I think either Nappreet or Sanjana, your microphone is live, so we were hearing you, or it might be not. It might be over on YouTube. Let me just double check here. No. So just make sure everybody's muted. Just a second. Just make sure everybody's muted so we can watch the video properly. Sanjana, do you want to mute your mic? Good. Okay. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yes.
Go ahead and mute your microphone and click on the video. The first one,
Yeah.
live chat, and watch it and keep your microphone off so we don't hear it. Okay?
Okay.
Great. Here we go. I'll come back to it. And we have it over here. Excellent, Jamie. I'm just going to come back and freeze on something online. We have the closed captioning here and something. Well, more important than ever. Well, great. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and so I like this video because it's short, it's succinct, it's not very long, but again, this is Daniel Goleman. He is credited with bringing emotional intelligence to the forefront of CEOs and corporations and HR departments when they're looking at hiring candidates for their positions, and whether that's a CEO or a CFO, right down to a layperson. But again, what I really want to emphasize here is when there is research done on emotional intelligence, on what makes people successful in the workplace long term, the research seems to suggest that it's the emotional intelligence someone possesses that keeps them employed for longer. And it's what kind of, as Goleman said there, it might distinguish someone who's a star from someone who's kind of average, right? And the reason for that, to do a bit of a deeper dive, is that so many jobs now we are working in teams, or maybe we're partnered in small groups, or at some point we're working with other people. We're not so isolated in a one-to-one individual role. So conflicts will happen. Needing to collaborate with others is going to happen, and needing to have difficult conversations is going to happen. And so when we build up our emotional intelligence, that will help us navigate those situations and those relationships more effectively, to then even what Goleman said in his example about the one coder who stayed in their office and did their coding versus the other who did that, but then also went to their team and said, how can I help? That was an expression of, well, in my mind, that says to me, they're interested in what someone else is doing. They want to learn more. They're there as a teammate to support other people. Right. And it's the messaging in that, right? It's where that's coming from. Because actually, can we go to on the Canva?
Yeah.
I think it's slide 4.
Sure. And can you just hold the mic more like
Oh,
just
yeah.
That's better.
Okay,
I'm
sure.
going to go back to your slides. And is it
Number
this
4,
one?
yeah. So this is a graph, not the exact one Goleman created, but you can see that of the 12 competencies of emotional intelligence, it's broken down into 4 sectors. And we're not going to go into all 12, but the main thing I want to point, or does anything stand? So when we look at the headings, self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management, does anything stand out about that?
Take a
Good question.
look. Okay,
Yeah.
so online, for those online, you should be able to see this clearly on the big board right now. If you can't, just jump on your microphone and let us know, okay? Or you can put it in the live chat. but this is important what Jamie is giving us right now. And I wanted to, while you're thinking about what's on that, just put down one thing for us, Maureen, about what we're talking about. It's about how well you manage yourself. This is really significant about emotional intelligence. It's something Daniel Goleman mentioned in the video we just saw. I think that Raymond, Juanita's father, is probably pretty high up there, maybe a 10 out of 10 on how he manages himself. And it's something you need to be thinking about too. Okay, so, okay, take a look then. Juanita, is there anything here that shouldn't be there, Jamie, or something?
Yeah, or just like when you look at the headings, self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management, is there any theme or is there anything that stands out about those 4 headings? And there's no right or wrong answer.
Well, I just noticed that it started with self, then it went on to like outside, like relationships. So yeah, that's unique, or that's significant because you need to finish everything inside before you start outside.
That is exactly.
Everything inside before you. Very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, no right or wrong answers, but that was kind of the answer I was
Okay.
somewhat looking for. Is just that, yeah, 2 of the, and where the majority, no, not the majority of the competencies, but where half of the competencies are all about ourself, right? So again, when we think of emotional intelligence, it's how we navigate and understand and are aware of our emotions and our behaviors. And then how, so it's not just the awareness piece, but then how that affects other people and how that might bolster and support a conversation or a difficult conversation, or might hinder or be a detriment to a difficult conversation. But it's just, it's the main thing with emotional intelligence is that it really revolves around self-awareness. And we don't have that self-awareness, it's going to be really, really difficult to be a good team player. It's going to be really difficult to even come up with creative ideas when you're under the gun and really under pressure. If we collapse under strong emotion and we can't respond in a way where we're able to kind of just dial it in and reel it in and then still kind of get the job done, that's going to be really difficult to be successful. And it's important to know too that emotional intelligence doesn't mean we don't feel or express emotions. It's all about how we express those emotions and how we deal with them. You know, we're human beings. We are going to struggle at times. You know, mental health days in some workplaces are there for a reason, because some days it's just difficult to get out of bed. And
yesterday, for example, the mayor of Montreal, you may not have seen her press conference. The mayor of Montreal suddenly slowed down in her speaking, started to look kind of disoriented, and then had to sit down, and her staff surrounded her to help her in a live press conference, because she said later that she had just been working way too hard and she was at that moment unable to continue. That's pretty powerful thing to watch. There, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. And that says to me, Lon, that there's a good culture of support around her. And as leaders, we, you know, it's really good to look at what kind of culture we are creating in our workplaces and workspaces. And, you know, to also frame this in another way, we can be a leader and not be a CEO. We can be a leader and not be a manager. And so we might not always be responsible to have that, to be responsible for creating the kind of workplace culture that we do, but we can definitely influence that. And we can be a leader in demonstrating the type of culture that we want, the type of culture around support for ourselves, support for others, their mental health, the emotional health, their physical well-being. So stepping in and just, you know, and it could be a simple gesture of showing that support by, you know, seeing your boss or leader, if they're not at their best that day, how do you respond to lift them up, asking them what they need? How can I help? Just as they said it in that was expressed as in the example in the video.
It's interesting what Jamie said. Something I think we need to put down in the notes is, excuse me, we don't want to collapse under strong emotion. I think that's an important statement, Jamie, in terms of what emotional intelligence means. And what we're saying to all of you right now, and it's important to listen, particularly in the recordings, everybody, that stress is not a bad thing. You may think today, so we don't want to collapse under strong emotion. Yeah, is what Jamie said, okay? We don't want to collapse under strong emotion. Contrary to what you often hear today, which is try to reduce stress in your life, avoid stress if you can. No, we're not saying that here. If you want to lead well, you will be going right straight into the storm of stress. How are you going to manage yourself in this? That's very, very important. And I think Jamie is saying, he's not saying avoid the strong emotion. He's just saying we've got to figure out a way to manage the strong emotions so that we can take advantage of it and move forward. Not run away from it and not snap and do something stupid in that strong emotion, right? Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, and
Excellent.
yeah, no, and thank you, Lon. I completely agree. And to touch on stress, again, the research into that suggests that a little bit of stress can actually be a very positive and beneficial thing. Some people say it's just inherent to being a human being. I don't know anybody that hasn't had some level of stress in their life, and when that becomes an issue is when it's like a chronic long-term stress, and you can't find relief from it for one reason or another. But a little bit of stress, it can help us be productive. It's a source of motivation. It helps us and encourages us to take action, especially when something important needs to be done. So stress can absolutely be a good thing. And then too, without going too much on a tangent, again, some of the research is suggesting that it's not necessarily the event that's causing us stress, it's how we perceive the event. Because 10 people can see and be exposed to, say, the same assignment in school as a student. 5 of them might be completely overwhelmed with it, but 3 of them, might be a little anxious, and 2 of them might see that as an opportunity to build and develop skills, to learn new things, and to challenge themselves, right? And so it's those latter 2 students who won't be as stressed, because it might still be difficult, it might still be challenging, but it's the way they're perceiving it. It's their mind. You mentioned mindset. With Raymond's mindset, that's a perfect example. And so I imagine Raymond employs those kinds of mindsets at time, where some people might see something completely overwhelming, but it's a skill that we can develop, and it's something that we can train our minds to do. Similarly, emotional intelligence is not a fixed trait that we have. We are absolutely able to build that. And so I came today with 3 techniques. There's many, and there's more, but 3 to just touch on today. And in doing so, let's say emotional intelligence, it's something that you're interested in. There's lots of research, there's lots of reading you can do online. You can observe, you can sit back and look at a leader next time you're in with your boss, or look next time you're in with someone who you admire, or someone you see as a mentor, and just try to be objective about what they're doing. Are they demonstrating technical skills? Are they coming up with really smart, intelligent ideas about problem solving, or are they being empathetic? Are they showing support for others? Are they checking in on people?
We've done quite a bit on empathy.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's good. It's important. So in another class. So it's great you're touching on that.
Yeah. And empathy too. You'll see that's a key component of emotional intelligence, and that's both internal and external. Because if we're not aware of, again, if we don't have the first 2 columns sort of, at least if we're not working on it or have some strength there, it's going to be really hard to be empathetic to people, right? It's, oftentimes the situations that require the most empathy are the times that we're also feeling emotional, and maybe like I'm right and they're wrong, or why did you do this? Because if I'm someone's boss and someone made a poor decision, I might jump to the conclusion that maybe they're not intelligent or they're not smart. They lack the technical skills, but rather maybe I say, what do we need to do to change this from happening again? What skills and training might you need to be successful at doing this again in the future? And so it's that kind of perception, that kind of mindset that we employ, and that empathy even, that helps us to come out of only our shoes and where we're at, and step into someone else's shoes and just invite them to share.
What did you say when we talk about 3 techniques to build emotional IQ. Is that EQ? I like that. EQ.
EQ. Yeah.
Got it. So if we were to list under that one, just briefly, 1, 2, 3, this would be helpful, I think, for the students. Unless you have something else, go to it. But make sure that we can get those 3 in a few words.
For sure, yeah. So number 1 would be recognizing your emotions and then naming them. That's a big piece of that self-awareness. So not maybe in my mind, and when I do this, I'm not usually in the moment and having a conversation that might be difficult. This is after the fact when I'm reflecting on what came up for me, or even a minute or 2 later when I have a moment to take a breath and I'm removed from a situation that was really difficult that maybe required or emotional intelligence would have been a benefit. It's looking at what came up for me and what do I call that. That's a practice of of getting ourselves in tune with our emotions, with our triggers, and what patterns we might have in stressful situations. So
That's good, Maureen, which are the way she's also kind of condensing this as well into good takeaway for the students, naming those emotions. So feel free to just direct it to Maureen. She's going to put it through her head, and then we have some real good takeaway up here, okay?
The second thing would be is asking for feedback. We all sometimes feel and think we know how we respond and how we present to other people. But sometimes when we ask for maybe feedback on our presentation skills, we might think that we're not very good at all, but we might get excellent feedback. And the vice versa might be true. We might think we're excellent at something, and then someone might give us some constructive criticism, and then we're like, whoa, was not on my radar. I did not think this was an issue at all. And so having that objective outside opinion and again, constructive feedback is essential because it can bring to light maybe things we're not super aware of. And we don't need to be aware of every little mannerism or fault of ours. But asking for that supportive critical feedback can be essential in just being aware of it next time we're in a certain situation, that then we can choose to use that learning and that discovery and apply it to, solutions, to difficult meetings, to problem solving, to any time we're working on a task and working with teams. So that's the other thing too, is asking for feedback. And 3, what research is showing is that reading literature that has complex characters in it.
This is a third technique.
Yeah.
Reading literature that has that is very progressive and very innovative.
And I think that,
Go ahead, yeah.
And I think the reason why is, or you know what? I'm going to throw it up. I know you're our only student in person, but if you had any ideas why, when we think about building emotional intelligence and what it is, again, it's the empathy. It's knowing and recognizing our emotions, how they're coming up for us, and how those might be influencing other people. That's emotional intelligence in a nutshell. So why might reading literature, stories, novels, fiction, nonfiction of people, and people can be complex, but like maybe characters who have a story, right? Who have a life under their belts, right? And so you can kind of call that complex sometimes. So why might reading about someone else help us develop our emotional intelligence? Any thoughts or ideas?
Do you want to try, Maureen? And does it have to be reading? Could it be a movie? Or does it have to be could it be a good, deep movie? But let's see, I'm going to bring the camera over. And that's what they see, okay? So just, everyone's.
Well, I'm an avid reader. I love reading. I love watching movies. So I think losing yourself in someone else's story is so different because you're not focusing on your stressors or your stress at the time. You've put yourself in that person's shoes and, kind of seeing a different perspective of how someone would deal in a situation. Because obviously, if I read a book and I would think, I've never thought of something that way. And then it also tells you that's the emotion the character is feeling, that they're naming it. So now if you're in a situation where such an emotion arises, then okay, so this is what I was
Identify.
I really will identify, yeah.
Sure. And, Anita wants to say something. Go ahead. I brought the camera back.
So yeah, what she says is definitely correct, but it's a it's a bit that third reason is a bit scary because I say it because sometimes you have people that are not emotionally intelligent, like, and we're trying to through these 3 steps. But sometimes if you're reading something and you see a character that's complex and they handle the situation in a particular way, it might not necessarily be the best way to handle. So it's almost like you don't know what to do, like, because you're not emotionally intelligent. So you read a book, you collect the knowledge from that book. That's what you're receiving, and that's what you start to practice. And that might not be the best way to go about it. So it's scary in that way that people are reading these things and doing the things that maybe they're not supposed to do. I don't know.
So they don't understand. Maybe
Yeah.
They need some more education.
Exactly. So
Maybe.
something like
You know, when we talk about the importance of education, or maybe they need a little time with Raymond. Go ahead.
And
Right, yeah.
So to answer your question first, Lon, does it need to be literature or can it be a movie?
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't know what it says about that, but I can explain what my understanding is that we are practicing getting someone else's point of view. But again, when we're reading like a deep story with it gives like a deep emotional history behind that character, and we can feel that when we read. Sometimes it helps us get in tune with other people. We helps us to go beyond ourselves and be someone else temporarily, even when we're in that book. And for anyone who's read a book where you're just really captivated and you're really enveloped into that situation, that story, that character, it is practice sort of stepping outside of us and be like, what would it be like to be that person? And sometimes we can even go a little bit further and say, what would I have done in this situation? Would I have done the same thing, like right, wrong, or otherwise, better or for worse? But that, I think that's the point.
Well, I can help a little bit by giving a plug right now for the importance of books. And it has been said, everybody, for those of you who are really listening right now, that there is nothing like a book to provide a deep psychological portrait of a human being, because a book has the space to do that. In a movie or in a Netflix series or in a video, there's time, there's certain formats that restrict what's being presented to you. But if you want the deepest portrait of the complexity of a human being, pick up a good book. It won't fail you, okay? So, because, well, I hate to say this, but maybe it is my age showing, but I don't think me being 61 is a reason why I'm recommending books. I suspect that if I put the camera to Maureen, who's much younger than I am, or Juanita, or Jamie too, it's not a generational thing here, right? Please tell me right. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So you want to learn about other people, and you want to understand the complexity of the human being that will help you understand the people you're working with, and you can be empathetic. Read a good book, right? Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to butcher a quote by Mark Twain, or I'm going to paraphrase it, but one of the things he said was, someone who can read but doesn't has no advantage over somebody who can't read. It's you're missing out on so much opportunity, so much learning and insight into the psychology of being a human, the psychology of somebody else, and just those stories about being human that you wouldn't otherwise know about unless you read about them or talked to someone about them. And you're not going to be able to talk to everybody on this planet. So but picking and choosing authors who might be known for writing very what's the word, I'm missing the word here, but the word that it elicits strong emotion. What's the word for that?
Provocative?
Provocative.
I'm
going to think of it as soon as this wraps up. Like, oh, that's the word.
But I will add to that, by the way, Jamie has mentioned also complex, and it's something that we've touched on in our classes through the semester. The complexity of life today and the complexity of the situations you find yourselves in. A good leader, a person who can manage others and themselves, can manage complexity. Do not be afraid of it, but complexity is very difficult, and it can lead to a lot of stress. So train yourself, help yourself, to deal with complexity. And reading good stories and characters who are complex will help you understand complexity, I think.
I think so. No, I agree. And I think if we keep with the idea of complexity and how that might show up in life and when that might show up in life, and just redirecting attention back to the 12 pieces of emotional intelligence. So, you know, if we are in complex scenarios and complex situations in our work, in our personal lives, you know, again, that self-awareness piece is going to be key to being able to just knowing what's going on with yourself and why. But then if you look at the second column, there's self-management. So what, you know, how do we manage ourselves when we're in a complex situation? Having emotional self-control, that can demonstrate good leadership, because if you start freaking out, that's not really, you're not going to look like the most professional, competent leader. If you're freaking out, right? If you're letting those emotions get the better of you, or even as an employee, and maybe you get some feedback from your boss and you send a really quick email when you're angry. Anybody will say, do not send that angry email. Maybe type it, delete it,
Yep.
or wait to respond, right?
Good
So
example, Jamie,
yeah.
about how we deal with emails and the emotions of being online that cause a lot of strong emotions. And, you know, we can easily give expression to that by just writing. I do get emails from students, by the way, that have clearly been written in the heat of the moment. Too many, actually. Not only do these emails not make sense because the student has been in such emotional upheaval that they haven't even reread their sentences. So it's grammatically a bit of a dog's breakfast. But then through that, there are word choices and things that are made. And I have no doubt that that student, if had just let that email sit there and not be sent, would have realized coming back to it later, I must rewrite this for my teacher. Please. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I am no, I guess this would be a neuroscience or neurobiology expert, but I listen to people who are neuroscientists, and I think my understanding of the reason why that happens is when our, without getting too technical, our sympathetic nervous system, that's our fight or flight. A lot of people refer to that fight, flight, fix, freeze. When that's activated, other parts of our brain actually shut down. It's almost very difficult, if not impossible, for some people to use things like logic or emotional intelligence. We might make typos and forget how to spell, perhaps, or it might manifest in certain ways when we're in that really deeply sympathetic, activated state. And emotional intelligence is something that helps us keep in a more of a calm, more regulated way of being. So I think that kind of goes to why that might come up with students sometimes. It's the actual, there's some neurobiology going on there that that really, if we practice emotional intelligence and practice things like raising self-awareness and being mindful, meditation, that's, you know, I've come in here and talked about that. Those are all things that can, and tools, I consider them, that really help us to be more in tune with ourselves. That's the precipice of being a good, being really emotionally intelligent. I was like, what am I talking about?
I'll help you, by the way, because I don't want to interrupt, but I also want to keep you on track. We have about 10 minutes left, and then we have to conclude. So it's important that we stick to our time, and I can help Jamie with that first. I just want to make sure with those online, I'm going to go check and do a quick check online to see what's happening, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to start to move towards sort of conclusion here. But let me just see anything in the live chat there. Sanjana and Napri are still there, and nothing there on YouTube, so we're good. I'm going to come back to Jamie's slide, keep it up there, and we're going to start to move towards a conclusion. If Jamie can't get everything he wanted to in today, that's okay. There's a lot here that students can work with. We need some time before we end for Maureen to review the notes with us so we can do that, because then we will have a good class that I think is a real nicely structured class. We have the time to review what's been said, you know. So we don't always have that chance, Jamie, because things are moving. But with fewer students today, we can actually do more of what I think is important in these classes, is the review of what we've done. Juanita, is there anything you want to add at this point before Jamie sort of moves towards the conclusion of this today? You're good? Yeah? Is there anything that your father might be wanting to say at this point to all of us, were he part of this class?
He'd probably just say that lots of the things that Jamie has said, especially with these columns, they have, a lot of them apply or they stem out from like the Bible. Because a lot of these things, like, and it makes a lot of sense because the Bible and what the principles it teaches is very practical, it's very relatable. Like basically everything is covered. So that's probably what he'd say. He'd just laugh at the fact that it's basically the same thing. and it's good because people are still, even if they don't know or they're not religious, at least they're still being on the right track. And you know, people are still growing and everything. That's what he would say.
And I would point out to our classmates, you know, here and also online and for the recordings, that often I hear in this space a certain suspicion of religion today because the power of science and technology and engineering and a kind of belief or faith in human will is so much a part of our modern mindset that we forget that our religions provide us with the power to understand and self-regulate ourselves. Don't underestimate, you know, whether it's Islam, you know, Marines, or it's Christianity, which I sense is what we're talking about here, Judaism here, Buddhism, Hinduism, any Zoroastrianism, any particular tribal or indigenous belief system. You know, we all need ways to regulate ourselves as humans. And now Jamie is helping us with a lot more of a modern take on this, I think. And anyways, just please try to remember that our religions at this time in our lives, in this very modern, complex, do have a lot to teach us for those of you who are suspicious. Unfortunately, our religions also can be in conflict, and maybe our religions have to grow a little bit too. But that's another class. I'm not gonna go there yet, okay? But anyways, Jamie, where would you like to take us as we move towards sort of the conclusion here?
Yeah, I'll just kind of maybe give a final thought on what you were talking about there, and just how religion, it gives a sense of meaning and purpose to pretty much anything that happens in life. I think a lot of, and I'm not a religious person, so forgive me if I'm speaking out of line here, but I'm pretty sure one of the main things that comes with a religion is that kind of what happens in life. It might be unexpected, it might be uncalled for. We might even say that it shouldn't have happened. But at the same time, we can, certain people have found ways to find, you know, the meaning in it, the value of it, and taking even a negative situation. Is anyone familiar with Viktor Frankl? He survived the Holocaust.
Yes.
Man's Search for Meaning. Man's
classic
Search for Meaning.
It's a classic work written. Of course, I've read it, but go ahead. It's a classic work written by a human being who survived the Holocaust and who then went on to try and explain to all of us, how do you find meaning in life after you have lived through an experience where you were part of an effort by others to extinguish you and your people. And you watched people being extinguished around you in the most cruel and brutal ways, and you survived. Now, how do you find meaning to go on in life? Fascinating.
Yeah. No, and thank you. And to tie that into what we're talking about here today with emotional intelligence is we can use faith and all the things that our faith teaches us to cope, to regulate even, and
calm down.
To calm down.
Calm down.
Yeah, to put it very simply, to calm down. And how we do that, again, maybe it is through making sense and making meaning. And it might not have been right, it might have been wrong, but if we can find a place, if we can practice making sense of what's happening or placing some kind of meaning and purpose to it, it can really help us to regulate what's going on and move past and move through complex, difficult situations that we have. So just to kind of share that of how maybe faith can also help with some emotional intelligence. In closing, one of the things Goldman mentioned there is how HR departments should be looking at and trying to recognize emotional intelligence. And I'm going to say to you, they are. So next time you're creating a cover letter, next time you're making your resume, next time you're in an interview, for sure, a lot of places look for those hard skills, those technical skills. To look at how intelligent you are, how well you can communicate. I mean, communication is a piece of emotional intelligence. But I would encourage you to remember that employers are looking at emotional intelligence as, what will make the most successful candidate. So to try to bring that to your interview, to try to try to demonstrate that in some way, shape, or form on your resume and on your cover letter. Those places are, we're trying to sell ourselves and we're trying to say why we are the person they should choose for this position. So in your search for a job, in your search for a career, if you're the person doing the interviewing, try to demonstrate those things, try to look for those things and communicate how you do that, either as the interviewer or the interviewee. And I think that, again, as most of the research is showing and more it's being done, I think it seems like more and more employers are taking notice of this. So as students who are, you might be 20, you might be 50. Eventually, I think many of us are students for a reason that we'll be looking for another job, maybe in the field that we're studying. So when those things come up, practicing emotional intelligence ahead of time is just going to help you with your relationship with yourself, your relationships with your family, your friends, with your coworkers, with management, or if you are management, with your subordinates. So it's something that is becoming more and more not popular. It's becoming more and more popular and on the radar of HR departments and employers. So I just encourage you to remember that and as potential encouragement to practice building that emotional intelligence. And there's so much information and literature online about what it is, why it's beneficial, the research that's being done. And there's more than 3 ways to build our emotional intelligence. Those are 3 I just shared. And just encourage you to pay more attention to it because it's a valuable life skill and it's a skill that we can develop and grow.
Thank you. We're going to go back and review. You can go back to the beginning, Mayreen, and just walk us through what you took down. And I'm going to bring the camera over there for all of you. So Mayreen is just going to review what we've covered and what Jamie has walked us through and introduced us to. Thank you as well, Jamie, for introducing Daniel Goleman to everyone here. He's certainly another person you can be looking up online to learn more from. We like good sources, trusted sources in this space, people who are scholarly and independent and who care about knowledge. Daniel Goleman is such a person. Okay, so Mayreen, go ahead.
So Jamie started off with showing us the YouTube video. I mean, we did the table first, but sorry. The YouTube video was obviously emotional intelligence at work and why IQ isn't everything. I like what you said about at work EQ. It can help you be employed longer. And then these were the 4 from the table there that I took down. Also, it's EQ is how well do you manage yourself.
Yes.
And Lon also said it's not if you can express yourself, but how you express yourself. So that was that bit. And then for the next slide.
And I'll just mention to students watching, these notes, of course, are available to you as the notes in DC Connect under the class recording. And this is something you may want to be referring to for your final reflection. Okay, there's some good hard takeaway information here to help. Go ahead.
And then Jamie also mentioned we don't want to collapse under strong emotions. And stress is also how we perceive something because it could be different for different people. And then also 3 techniques among many that Jamie mentioned to build emotional intelligence. And those are the 3. And Lon mentioned about the books. It's a portrait of to understand complex human psychology.
Yeah, complexity, understanding how to manage your own complexity, yourself, and you know, I think Juanita maybe could have the final word here on this idea. If I remember correctly, you started with the thought of it starts here and then it comes out. Or could you explain that for everybody a little bit? And then I think we'll end there, okay?
So like the 12 components of emotional intelligence, I think that's what it's called. They started from self-awareness, self-management. So it definitely starts inside. You might need to deal with things inside, maybe your mindset, maybe the way you've been conditioned to think or behave. You have to deal with that internally, because honestly, once you do, it automatically reflects outside, externally. Like once you sort out yourself, your emotions, it will show. People around you will notice that something else is different in the way you carry yourself and the way you talk. So yeah, you have to start inside. Definitely, it's an internal journey first, then before it's external.
And once it then becomes externalized, after you have begun to understand yourself, know yourself, probably you can be a more effective manager of yourself and of others as a leader, right? Would you say?
Yes, definitely. Because it'll almost be like you've been there. So when you see people behaving towards you, like certain ways, you're like, I know where that's coming from. I know what it feels like. So it actually helps a lot, especially if you want to assume a leadership position. You have to be able to sort out those things. So when you're done with the internal war, you come out, you sort everything else externally, help others also, so they don't end up collapsing under strong emotions.
On those words, I think we should conclude from somebody that I would say, Juanita. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the last name again because I'm going to mess it up, but I'll work on it. This young lady has some stuff in her bones. She said the internal war. She understands something about herself and about leadership. So thank you for sharing again, Juanita, and helping us all. Jamie as well for bringing all of this to us, and Maureen, thank you. And we're going to essentially sign off for now. Make sure that you start working, please, as soon as possible on that final reflection that is due. I'm getting all the marking done now of the previous reflections. You've got 30% of your grade riding on this coming next week, next Friday. Please start soon. Make sure you care about it. And if you care about it and you're cool and you're calm, I think you can do great. Okay? Thanks, everybody. See you next week. Okay, I got to make sure I save things, and we're done. And I'm going to turn off my microphone. And